Good morning, fourth grade. So we recently finished up our ecosystems and food web environment, and by now everyone has taken their tests. So we only have 19 more days of school. You guys made it through fourth grade. You guys have been doing a really good job, and you guys have worked very hard, even though school is online. And you guys made it through fourth grade, and soon you will be fifth graders. To be able to wrap up fourth grade, I want us to finish the year doing some different experiments. On Google Classroom, I shared a list of material that we're going to be using these next couple of weeks, which is different material that it's optional. You do not have to get this material. But if you would like to try maybe some of these experiments at home, you can ask mom and dad to have the materials ready for you. Experiment that we start today, we will start it today, Monday, but we will not be able to finish it all the way till Thursday because we have to let it give it some time for it to be able to react. But before we jump into our experiment, I want us to head over to Google Classroom so that you can know where to find the materials that you will need for our next couple of days. All right, so here we are on our Google Classroom page. Once you click on classwork, the very first thing you'll see, it says the topic that says end of year experiments, and it will say STEM experiment material. That is the only document that's going to be found here. And it says these are the materials we are going to use for our science experiments. If you can't get all the material, again, do not worry. You can still follow along with me. So if you do want to get some of this material, you can show mom and dad, and I have them labeled experiments 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way down to experiment 10. And these are some different experiments that we're going to be doing throughout the rest of the 19 days that we have of school. For today's experiment, we are going to be using 1 egg, a plastic cup, and some vinegar. But before we get started, I want you guys to go back to Google Classroom. We are going to scroll past our resources, past our test review, past our test scores, and we're going to go to Monday. Under Monday, you see it says experiment number 1 data sheet. Go ahead and open up the data sheet right now. As we are doing these experiments, I will share different data sheets where you can record your thinking and also what you observe or notice. So please make sure that your experiment 1 note sheet, egg and vinegar experiment is open. Let's get ready for our experiment. Okay, so now that you guys have your experiment worksheet ready, that is where we are going to be taking notes. We are ready to start our experiment. So for our first experiment, what you need is a clear plastic cup like this one, 1 egg. If you are doing this at home, please make sure you ask mom and dad for permission first and also have them watching you. And then we are also going to use some vinegar. It is very important that you guys have your parents watching you. That way you can be safe. So for our first part of our experiment, we're going to take a look at an egg. I'm sure everyone has seen or touched the egg before. We know that if we drop it, it could break and burst out. But I want us on our recording sheet to write what we observe or notice about this egg. I noticed that it's the color white. It's very hard on the outside, and I know that it's very fragile, so I have to be very careful with it. So I want you guys to take about 1 minute to go to your sheet that is on Google Classroom where you are observing, In our first red column, please take the time right now to write at least 2 things that you observed about our egg in this red column. You will have 1 minute to write 2 things that you notice about our egg in the red column. Alright, by now you should have added 2 things that you notice about your egg on your Google Classroom note sheet. So for our experiment, we're going to do some investigation. We are going to place our egg in this cup. Our egg in this cup. We are going to fill this cup about a little over. We're going to fill it up just enough to cover the egg. I'm going to take some vinegar. Oops. We have our egg. I'm just going to pour some in. That is just enough to cover our egg. We're going to leave our egg floating in this cup of vinegar until Thursday. On Thursday, we're going to come back and see what happens. But before we do that, we have to make some predictions. As scientists, it is our job to be always thinking what will happen and share our ideas. So now let's go to Google Classroom. Let's make some predictions in our blue column. It says what I think will happen. You will now have 2 minutes to write 1 sentence of what you think will happen to our egg. So I'm going to leave our egg here. I'm going to cover it with a paper towel and place it in a refrigerator. And so now we have shared what we observed of the egg, and we also shared our prediction of what we think will happen. We will finish filling out the green column and the purple column when we reveal our results on Thursday. Make sure you do not click turn in so that we can add more information on Thursday.